Hello and welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big topics into engaging presentations. Today, we're diving deep into a cultural phenomenon and asking one huge question: what exactly made The Hunger Games catch fire?
Let's start with this number. In 2012, the very first Hunger Games movie pulled in a staggering nearly $700 million worldwide. But, this isn't just about the money. This was proof that a really dark, pretty violent story about kids fighting to the death could somehow become a massive four-quadrant blockbuster. It just completely defied all expectations.
So how in the world did that happen? Well, the answer isn't just, it was a good story. No, it was a perfect storm of timing, a brand new kind of hero, and a marketing machine that completely rewrote the playbook. So let's break down exactly how all those forces came together to create a franchise that, believe it or not, is still just as relevant today.
Okay, first things first, we have to understand the world this story was actually born into. The success of The Hunger Games was no accident. Its themes were basically a perfect mirror held right up to the anxieties of its audience.
The secret weapon here? It's all about the timing. I mean, look at this. The first book, which is just full of themes about massive wealth gaps and not trusting the people in power, it gets published the very same year the world plunges into a huge financial crisis. Then, by the time the movie comes out, that fictional struggle in the book, it's directly echoing the real-world chants of the 1% versus the 99%.
And this wasn't just some fan theory, The author herself, Suzanne Collins, basically laid it all out. She said the whole idea sparked from flipping channels between these mindless reality TV shows and the very real televised horrors of war. That unsettling mix is what created the entire world of Panem.
And let's be honest, this wasn't exactly subtle. You had the capital citizens with their crazy parties and ridiculous fashion, literally feasting while the district starved. It made this fictional world of Panem feel deeply and kind of uncomfortably real to an audience that was already dealing with economic injustice. It was, without a doubt, the perfect story for its time.
So, perfect timing lit the spark, right? But you don't get a nearly $700 million fire without a brilliant strategy to fan the flames. And this film was backed by a very deliberate formula that basically built a new kind of blockbuster from the ground up.
A huge part of that formula was its hero. At the time, young adult fiction was totally dominated by characters like Bella Swan from Twilight, whose stories were all about finding romance. And then along comes Katniss Everdeen, and she was a total revelation. She wasn't looking for a boyfriend, she was a provider, a protector, she was driven by this fierce, primal need to just keep her family alive.
This new kind of hero connected so deeply with people that an entire group of young adults was actually nicknamed Generation K. And you know what? The marketing that launched her was every bit as revolutionary. It didn't just sell movie tickets, it invited fans to become citizens of her world.
See, Lionsgate didn't just market a movie. They built an entire universe. They ran this meticulous, year-long digital campaign that treated fans like they were actual citizens of Panem. They made websites on a special .pn domain, they launched a high-fashion blog from the Capitol's point of view, and they ran contests that turned the most dedicated fans into the film's biggest ambassadors.
And the final piece of the formula was just ruthless pragmatism. The studio knew that for this dark story to become a global hit, teenagers had to be able to buy tickets. So the solution? They cut just 7 seconds of violence to get a friendlier rating. That tiny little edit completely opened the floodgates at the box office.
The success was so unbelievably massive that it kicked off a gold rush. Suddenly, every studio out there wanted their own Hunger Games, and the whole YA dystopian genre just exploded. But, as they all found out pretty quickly, that magic was incredibly hard to replicate.
This table, right here, it tells the entire story. Just look at the numbers. The Hunger Games actually grew its audience for the sequel and stayed completely dominant. Meanwhile, all the franchises that tried to follow it, like Divergent and The Maze Runner, they started out pretty strong, but then they just consistently lost viewers with every single sequel. That magic? Yeah, not so easy to copy.
So why the decline? Simple. Franchise fatigue. Audiences just got tired of the same old formula, A post-apocalyptic world, a corrupt government, and one special teenager who's destined to save everybody. The market got totally flooded with stories that just felt like less interesting copies.
And here is the ultimate proof. The failure of these copycats wasn't just about making less money, it led to the total collapse of entire franchises. The final Divergent movie? It was never even made, just canceled. It's a really stark reminder of just how hard it was to replicate that unique mix of timing, character, and strategy that made The Hunger Games such a massive hit.
And yet, here we are. More than a decade after that first film, the story isn't just relevant, it's having a massive cultural comeback, which proves its themes are more powerful now than ever.
This whole revival isn't just nostalgia either. It's another kind of perfect storm. You've got viral trends on TikTok where people are reanalyzing the story, the release of a huge hit prequel movie, all the films are suddenly easy to find on streaming, and yeah, even Taylor Swift is re-releasing her amazing songs from the original soundtrack.
But the real fuel for this new fire is our current reality. Just like back in 2008, we're again in a period of intense economic anxiety, rising costs, and a lot of social unrest. The whole spectacle of the ultra-wealthy living these lavish lives while so many people struggle, it feels like it's ripped from today's headlines, not from some dystopian novel. The story resonates because, once again, it feels true.
And that right there is why The Hunger Games endures. Its core questions about power, about spectacle, and about inequality, they just never go away. It holds up a mirror to our own world, and it leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question that keeps us all coming back to the arena.